Here I am, this is me. There's nowhere else on earth I'd rather be. And here I am, then me and you. And now we make our dreams come true. It's a new world, it's a new start. It's alive with the beating of young hearts. It's a new way and new friends. The future's waiting for me. Here I am. Here we are, we've just begun. We're the brightest minds, our time has come. Yeah, here we are, we're going strong. Right here in the place where we belong. In this new world, we play a part. We're gonna reach out for the stars. It's a highway, not all glam, but tomorrow's waiting for me. So here I
Here I am without you, and suddenly the world is all brand new. Here I am, where I'm gonna stay, but there's nothing standing in our way.
It's a new world, it's a new start. It's alive with the beating of young hearts. It's a new way and new friends. The future's waiting for me. Here I am. It's a new start. It's alive with the beating of young hearts. It's a new way and new friends. The future's waiting for me. Here I am.
A very good morning to all of you. A warm welcome to everyone to this webinar, Every Athlete Matters, Challenges During and After COVID-19. Life is too uncertain these days. The pandemic has put a brake to our speeding and competitive spirits. Along everything, sports is also one of the sectors which is affected badly. Not only the ones who have made the career out of sports, but also to all the sports lovers and the whole of the sports supply chain management system. We at Sports Council MAHE have huge hopes that we get back on ground just like before. But there are few challenges and we thought it should be addressed, and here we are with the webinar, Every Athlete Matters During and After COVID. There are 4 speakers today who are of high repute and specialized in their respective fields. They would cover most of the facts and clear doubts of many people about sports during and after COVID. I am Dr. Shobha, the Joint Secretary of the Sports Council, Manipal Academy of Higher Education. Welcome you all to this webinar session. I hope this session will be fruitful to all of you. Please stay safe and healthy. I request Dr. Deepak Barry to start the session.
Thank you, Dr. Shobha. I'll take this opportunity to welcome you all for this webinar. In this webinar, we are going to have the speaker, Mrs. Sandra DSouza, with us, who is going to talk about the miracle drug called exercise. She is a well-known athlete from Udupi region who has created a lot of records in the national as well as in the state level meet. I welcome Sandra on behalf of Sports Council. Before we start, let me introduce Sandra to the viewers. Sandra Ancilla DSouza was born on 29th September 1983, born and brought up in Udupi. She had her education in Udupi, Bangalore, Mysore and Mumbai. Her achievements from 1995 to 2003, she secured an individual championship in the 42nd National Sports Athletic Championship held in Bangalore, Karnataka in 1997 for winning twin gold medals in shot put and discus throw. Created a new meet record in shot put in 9th South Zone Junior Athletic Championship held in Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala in 1997. Created a new meet record in shot put at the 9th ITC Inter-Zonal Athletic Championship held in Kolkata, West Bengal 1997. Created a national record in shot put at 13th All India Interstate Junior Athletic Championship held in Ernakulam, Kerala 1998. Created new meet records in various state level athletic championship, 4 times in shot put, 3 times in discus throw and 2 times in hammer throw. Totally she secured 32 medals in shot put and discus throw by representing Karnataka at various national level athletic championship, 14 gold and 12 silver and 6 bronze. In total, she secured 91 medals at various state athletic championship representing Udupi and Dakshina Kannada district at various state level championship by securing 57 gold, 26 silver and 8 bronze. She was selected for Junior Indian Camp in Athletics in 1999 and 2002 for shot put held in Netaji Subhash National Institute of Sports, Patiala, Punjab and Netaji Subhash High Altitude Training Center, Shillaro, Himachal Pradesh. She was also awarded with the Dasara Krida Ratna Prashasti for excelling in sports in Mysore, Karnataka during 1998. Now I request Mrs. Sandra DSouza to brief us and our viewers regarding the topic miracle drug called exercise. Over to you, Sandra.
Hello everyone, I'm here to talk about the miracle drug called exercise. First, let's get to know what is a sport. A sport is an activity that is competitive and athletic and which requires some particular set of skills or physical abilities to be carried out. Sports is associated with fun, but they also offer benefits and lessons that carry over into all aspects of life. What sort of sport is essential? Any kind of sport which involves running, jumping, stretching, or mind skills. Let's get to know the type of sports. Sports can be broadly classified into 3 streams. Individual sport, one individual performs. For example, archery, bowling, swimming, etc. Dual sports are played by 2 competing pairs. For example, badminton. The third one is team sport. 2 or more than 2 individuals perform. For example, volleyball, throwball, or any other team game. Global Association of International Sports Federations divided sports by 5 main categories according to the types of skills required. The first one being physical sports, which includes athletics and rugby. Second one, motorized sports, which includes car racing. The third, mind sports, which includes chess. Fourth, coordination sports. Example, that's billets. And animal sports, which has horse riding in it. Why is sports so important? Sports is important as it is related to us biologically, academically, morally, and emotionally. Biologically, it's a known fact sports keeps us fit. Our muscles are flexed. In layman's terms, they are prevented from undergoing rusting. Sports helps in treating numerous diseases, most of them relating to our heart. If one wishes to live long, fit, happy, and disease-free, sports is a must. Academically, sport increases the concentrating power. It helps our nervous system to increase its spontaneity. It helps our mind to remain fresh, increasing our retaining power. In general, it increases the overall efficiency of the brain. Morally, sports is morally related to us. It teaches us moral skills of sportsman spirit, honesty, teamwork. It teaches us the art of leading, tactical awareness, strategic planning. All these are owned due to sports. It's certainly a base for better future prospects. Emotionally, athletes as well as supporters experience many emotions, including joy, sadness, anger, fear, anxiety, and pride. For example, India winning an overseas test series in South Africa, Messi finally winning a World Cup, Saina Nehwal winning the Olympic gold. While your favorite team performs, it makes you happy. Vice versa, when they don't, it makes you sad, low, angry too. Sports have time and again proven to unite countries. Sports has become an integral part of everyday's life. Be it a student or a grown-up, everyone wants to be a part of sport. In order to have a better, healthy life, there are a couple of factors we should consider. Not only we have balanced, healthy, and nutritional meals, but also exercise and other physical activities too play an important role in a healthy lifestyle. Playing a sport regularly helps in the growth and development of body. People have made sports their career options. We may see many sportspersons who play and earn well out of it. For example, Roger Federer and Leander Paes in tennis, Ronaldo and Messi, the footballers, Sachin Tendulkar and MS Dhoni, the cricketers, Usain Bolt, PT Usha, the athletes, PV Sindhu and Saina Nehwal in badminton, Vishwanathan Anand in chess, and the list would just go on and on. All these above people, along with many more, we have come across who have been successful in the walk of their life. And how did they taste success? What made them be what they are? It's nothing but through regular exercise and training. Let's get to know what exercise and training is. Exercise and training. The words exercise and training are often used interchangeably. They are not the same. What is exercise? Exercise is a physical activity that raises your heart rate above its normal resting rate. Along with your rate going up, you might also sweat or start breathing more heavily. It also means you're exerting yourself more than you would if you were performing day-to-day activities. Exercise is typically something you do for its own sake, without a particular goal or target in mind. Exercise can be really enjoyable too. Exercise also assists with the improvement of physical fitness, which consists of 5 specific components: cardiorespiratory fitness, muscular strength, muscular endurance, flexibility fitness, and body composition. Exercise is nothing but enhancing or maintaining physical fitness over all health and wellness. Now let's get to know what's training. Training is a physical activity that is driving towards a specific intention or goal. It's repetitively performing to reach a desired result, usually in a systematic way. For example, runners train in marathons. A boxer trains to get ready for the big fight. An athlete trains to excel in their chosen sport. In training, we are seeking to condition ourselves to operate at a higher level, to get better at whatever it is. Like other aspects of fitness, training is about striking a balance between progress and recovery. If you overtrain and don't allow yourself to rest, you could be setting yourself up for an injury. You could also actually see a decrease in your performance if you're training too hard. That's yet another reason to make sure you enjoy your rest days. Now let's understand exercise and its benefits. Exercise has benefited in different aspects: psychological benefits, sociological benefits, and intellectual benefits through exercise. First one, psychological benefits through exercise. The following are common psychological benefits gained through exercise. That is, reduce stress as well as improved ability to cope with stress, improved self-esteem, pride in physical accomplishments, increased satisfaction with oneself, improved in confidence in your physical abilities, decreased symptoms associated with depression. As people exercise these psychological benefits, it is likely that they also will be motivated to continue exercises so that they continue to receive these benefits. Coming towards the social benefits of exercise. Researchers found that those exercising in a group reported a higher quality of life. Exercise is a great way to meet new people and catch up with friends. Mates for social events like gym, marathon club could be of great help, either for advice, someone to play against, someone to sport for, or someone just to say a hello. Exercises classes are a great way to meet new people. They are a perfect opportunity to blend into a group. Yoga, for example, is an individual practice, but within a class, it can feel social. Exercising socially makes us more likely to turn up, and that's not a small thing. Coming towards the intellectual benefits of exercise. Exercise results in increased memory, better attention, higher self-esteem, better sleep, more energy, and stronger resilience. Let's understand why one must exercise. Exercise is an important part of a healthy lifestyle. Exercise prevents health problems, builds strength, boosts energy, and can help to reduce stress. It can also help you maintain a healthy body weight. Exercises increases energy, increases strength and muscle tone, helps to have adequate sleep, improves circulation, ensures joints are flexible, improves endurance, helps in stress relief, provides with good posture, increases one's ability to concentrate and learn, and it also makes a person happy. How much exercise is needed? The Department of Health and Human Services establishes physical activity guidelines. The most recent guidelines are as follows. They're categorized into two. That's for children and teens and for adults. Children and teens. Children ages 6 to 17 should be getting at least an hour of exercise of physical activity every day. That may sound like a lot, but they are probably already getting most of that in their everyday activities. This could include recess, gym class, or running around with friends after school. The three types of exercise children should have in their activities included are aerobic activity. These are activities that get their hearts pumping. They could include running, riding bikes, or fast walking. These should make up the majority of their hour of exercise. Muscle strengthening. These activities build their muscles. They could include climbing trees, gymnastics, or playing on a jungle gym. Bone strengthening. These activities make their bones stronger. They could include running, fast walking, or jump roping. Coming towards the adults. Adults should be getting both aerobic and muscle strengthening exercises on a regular basis. Each week, adults need either 2 hours and 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise plus muscle strengthening. Moderate intensity exercise allows you to talk while exercising, but not be able to sing a song. For example, brisk walking, water aerobics, playing double tennis, riding a bicycle. Vigorous exercises elevates your heart rate and makes your breath fast. You can't talk without pausing for breath. Such activities include swimming laps, jogging or running, playing single tennis. Coming towards muscle strengthening exercises. It targets all muscles. This includes the shoulders, arms, chest, abdomen, back, hips, and legs. Example, push-ups, sit-ups, using resistance bands, etc. What should one do before and after exercise. Start every exercise session with a warm-up. This will make your muscles and joints more flexible. Spend 5 to 10 minutes doing some light stretching exercises and brisk walking. Warm-up helps your muscles to get ready for the exercise. It makes your heart stronger for the activity and reduces risks of injury. Do the same thing when you're done exercising, as it helps to bring your heart rate to normal, improves your flexibility, helps your muscles feel less sore. Let's understand, how can one make exercise a habit? Write a prescription for your exercise program that describes what type of exercise to do, how often to do exercise, and how long. As per experts, it takes 21 days to cultivate a habit. Hence, exercise for 21 days without fail and make it a habit. Stick to a regular time every day. Sign a contract committing you to exercise. Put exercise appointments on your calendar. Keep a daily log or diary of your exercise activities. Check your progress. Can you walk a certain distance faster now? Or are you at your target heart rate? Sign up for an online class or meeting with an online trainer can keep you accountable too. Think of the regular benefits of exercise. Write down the benefits and goals and keep them posted somewhere you can see. How can one stick with the exercise program or routine? Choose an activity you would like to do. It could be either body weights, using your own body weights, making stays your best friend, stand walking exercise, Zumba, aerobics, jumping exercises, plank exercise, yoga, indoor cardio, indoor exercise without any equipments. The second one being, variety is the spice. Remember, variety is the key to success. So change routes, schedules, and exercises. Consider aids like apps or portable fitness devices. Choose a comfortable time of the day. Don't get discouraged. No pain, no gain. Pain is a part of the exercise program. Get over it and you shall gain. Make exercise fun. Listen to music or watch TV while you ride a stationary bicycle. Track your activity. Track your progress through devices or apps. Share pictures of your exercise routine on apps such as WhatsApp or Instagram. Sharing pics will make you determined to exercise regularly, as others are watching your progress as well as appreciating your efforts. Remember, whatever age you are, fitness or ability you are in, there will be something out there for you. It's never too late to reap the benefits of exercise. Still, exercise is nature's best medicine. Now let's understand what to eat before and after exercise. Figuring out what to eat before and after an exercise can be such a struggle, but it's worth it. Of course, what you eat after a workout is really important too. What to eat before exercise? Firstly, time your pre-exercise snack right. The ideal time to eat is between 30 minutes to 3 hours before your workout. Drink plenty of water. ensure you keep yourself hydrated. Go for a pre-exercise snack with carbs. Carbs is equal to energy. When you eat them, they break down into glucose, enters your muscle cells, and gives you fuel to exercise at your maximum capacity. Some carbs I recommend before workout: a piece of a fruit, oatmeal, a rice cake, or a piece of a toast. Make sure your pre-exercise snacks has protein too, such as nuts, Greek yogurt, a slice of turkey, a hard-boiled egg. Now coming towards what to eat after exercise. Eating after a workout is all about replacing the calories you just used up. Rehydrate yourself. Make sure you eat something soon. Refuel with carbs and proteins. Remember, you've blown through that glycogen and torn up your muscles. Therefore, your post-workout meal should be high in complex carbohydrates that breaks down slowly and are loaded with healthy proteins. Carbohydrates includes nuts, whole wheat bread, and proteins include beans, fish, etc. Let's see what eminent personalities say about exercise. Mark, quote, "Staying in shape is important," says the Facebook founder on his social media site. Doing anything well requires energy, and you just have a lot of energy when you're fit. I make sure I work out at least 3 times a week, usually first thing when I wake up, unquote. Oprah Winfrey, quote, "I try to do something every day that allows me to feel active," unquote. Oprah tells people recently for her that means yoga, and then hits the treadmill to get her heart pumping. Jack Dorsey, the founder of Twitter and Square, puts his good mornings down to getting up at 5:30 a.m. to meditate and jogging for 6 miles. Rick Goings, Tupperware chief executive, meditates and exercises regularly. Bill Gates, he gets up and does an hour of the treadmill before starting his day, and he also loves playing tennis. Simon Cowell does around 500 push-ups in a daily religiously manner, and if time permits, he also does some workout. Coming towards Richard Branson, he takes a dip in the ocean, swimming the perimeter of said island, and then does a spot of kite surfing before finishing with some tennis. The one tip we can adopt: he sleeps with his curtains open so that he rises when the sun does. Jen's definitely an early bird. She gets up at 4:30 a.m., meditates for 20 minutes, opts a spin class for half an hour, and then yoga for 40 minutes. And that's not all. Quote, "I do strength training or just my own thing on the treadmill, the bike, or the elliptical, just to change things up. Keeping your body confused is always the key for me," unquote. That's immense. Now coming towards the conclusion. The ancient proverb, "Healthy mind in a healthy body," holds good even in today's modern world. Exercise helps us to be fit and at the same time maintain an alert mind. A good health helps a person to keep a positive attitude towards work and life in general. Don't forget to take up the miracle drug called exercise on daily basis. MAHE has one of the largest and best equipped sports center. MAHE is a unit which gives a lot of exposure for physical fitness. As you all know, it has one of the finest indoor gym marina in Asia, equipped with 200 meters of walking track, indoor basketball, shuttle badminton, squash, outdoor tennis, swimming pool, Ranji qualified cricket ground, football, hockey, volleyball, 400 meters athletic stadium, and a boxing ring too, which most of the institutes do not have. The campus offers with the best facilities. Make the most of it and stay fit. Opt a regime that gets your heart pumping and gives you physical activity. You have the necessary facilities readily available as a boon in your campus. Before I conclude, I would like to thank the Sports Council, MAHE, and Dr. Deepak Ram for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Before we conclude, there are a few questions from our viewers. Firstly, S. Janashekar, SCNR Government Degree College, Prodattur. He has a question regarding how will the sports change after pandemic situation?
It's a tough situation for all who are facing COVID recently. After the COVID, I'm sure everybody will hit back stronger. The first and the foremost thing what would happen is people will have to ensure they develop better endurance and take better food so that they remain strong and exercise regularly, and also ensure to remain fit through exercise.
Thank you, Sandra. One more question from Mrs. Renuka Acharya, physical education teacher from St. Mary's English Medium School, Kannarpadi, Udupi. How to get children back into sports after COVID-19?
Children are always motivated when it comes to exercise or when it comes to any kind of physical activity or when it comes to sports. So rather than we encouraging them, they themselves will come forward to be a part of a sport. As parents, they should encourage every child to be a part of the sport. And even the physical instructors of the schools should take up sessions to motivate children to be a part of sports even after COVID. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. This is a small token of gratitude from Sports Council, MAHE.
I take this opportunity to welcome you all for this session. Now we are going to begin with the topic resuming training post-COVID, injury prevention and recovery strategies. I take this opportunity to welcome you all for this session. Now we are going to begin with the topic resuming training post-COVID, injury prevention and recovery strategies. For this, we have with us Mr. Prabu Raja G, Assistant Professor, Department of Exercise and Sports Sciences, Manipal College of Health Professionals, MAHE, Manipal. I welcome Mr. Prabu Raja on behalf of Sports Council. Before we start, let me introduce our today's speaker to the viewers. Mr. Prabu Raja G, Assistant Professor, Department of Exercise and Sports Sciences, and also Coordinator, Interdisciplinary Center for Craniofacial and Orofacial Pain Research. He is working in the Manipal College of Health Professions, MAHE, Manipal. His qualification, Master of Physiotherapy from Father Mullar's Medical College, Mangalore. Bachelor of Physiotherapy, Sri Ramachandra University, Chennai, and he is pursuing PhD from Manipal Academy of Higher Education, MAHE. More than eight numbers of papers are published in the national and international journals. He is a member of Fascia Research Society and member of Facial Manipulation Association, a member of International Society of Biomechanics, member of Indian Society of Biomechanics, member of Indian Association of Physiotherapists. Mr. Prabu Raja participated more than 40 national and international conferences, workshops as a resource person. Now it is the time to Prabu Raja, speaker of this session, brief us on the topic resuming training post-COVID. Over to you, sir.
Good morning all. So today it's the most important topic what each one of us are thinking about, especially the athletes and people who goes to gym, the gym goers, the regular gym goers, and who works out a lot. So our problem is we are stuck down and we are inside the house for the last 4 months. I don't know when gyms are going to open. So all of us are in our mind, we are going to have this question is how do we resume training post-COVID without injury, or how to prevent injuries and the recovery strategies. So why do we get injured? That is because of suddenly you are at rest, you are physically inactive for the last couple of months, and then suddenly you go to gym and then work out, there are a lot of load imparted to the body and then you get injured. Or it could be due to poor overall conditioning. So it is said that within 48 hours you tend to lose your strength after your workout. For example, if you take rest for a longer time, more than 48 hours, you tend to lose your strength. So it just takes hardly 2 days for you to lose strength. So imagine we are inside the house, stuck inside the house for the last 4 months. So definitely would have lost our strength, our endurance, our cardiorespiratory endurance and local muscular endurance and strength, everything. So we are all deconditioned basically. So that deconditioned body or the detrained body are more prone for injuries and definitely a bad luck. When the time is not good for us, we tend to get injuries. So training and conditioning. So improper conditioning or deconditioning or detraining is the most important cause of sports injuries, any sports injuries. So training and conditioning. So it is based on the SET principle, that is specific adaptations to imposed demands. That means you impose a demand on the body and your body accommodate and adapt according to the stimulus which is imparted to the body. So detraining due to pandemic. So what happens is, so as we are inside the house for a long time, there is a phenomena or a principle called reversibility which occurs as soon as the physical training is stopped. When you are involved in physical training, when a lot of stimulus is imparted to your body again adapts according to the physiological needs based on the stimulus which you are imparting. Right now, all are physically inactive. So what happens? Your body doesn't stop like that. It has to, it because of the detraining, the body readjusts in accordance with the diminished physiological demand. There is lack of physical activity which necessitates less demand from physiologically, and the beneficial adaptations, whatever we have got through training through all these years, we would have lost in the last 4 months. But what are the studies which says about the strength training? So the study which was done by Kalapatros et al. Have stated that they have done study on 80 to 88-year-old males, and they gave resistance training for 8 weeks continuously. And following that, one group of people were asked to continue the resistance training for next 6 more weeks, and the other group, they were asked to refrain from the activities, from the resistance training activities, so for 6 weeks. So one group is 6 weeks of detraining, the other groups 6 weeks of continuous training along with the 8 weeks of resistance training in both the groups. So what happens if you observe, there is a significant improvement in the strength after first 8 weeks of training in all the subjects, whereas people who continued the resistance training, you see that there is an increase in the strength once they continue with the resistance training. But if you compare with the people who has withdrawn from training or who is not training for the next 6 weeks, there is a significant reduction in the strength, almost 25% of reduction in the strength. So this shows that detraining leads to reduction in the strength. Second study, in this study, these authors have done study on 58 to 70-year-old males, where they were given 12 weeks of resistance training initially, and then 12 weeks of detraining, and again 12 weeks of retraining. So there was a gap of 12 weeks following 12 weeks of training. So resistance training for 12 weeks, followed by complete rest, that is detraining for 12 weeks, and then again retraining for 12 more weeks. So let's see the graph, how it goes. So initially, after 12 weeks, following 12 weeks, see the significant improvement in the knee extension strength. Okay, so significantly it has improved. The strength has improved, almost 36% improvement is there. Whereas after that, after 12 weeks of detraining, if you see there is a drop in the strength. Then again when they started again, after 12 weeks, after that 12 weeks of detraining, when they start the retraining after 12 weeks, again the strength started improving. Now if you see the strength here, what they have gained in 12 weeks of training and what they have gained after 12 weeks of retraining, actually retraining they have achieved more results than the training after 12 weeks. So what is the inference of the study? So these people have gained strength and power and the changes in the fiber types. They were partially preserved following 12 weeks of detraining. Even though there is a reduction in the strength, it is not completely came to the baseline. See that there is an improvement here. So there is a difference between the baseline and the after detraining for 12 weeks, after 12 weeks of training. So even though there is a significant reduction in the strength, it has not come down completely as to that of the baseline. So there was a 50% reduction in the strength, and then again the strength has increased significantly even when compared to the 12 weeks of training. So that is the inference. So gain strength and power, and only half of the strength they have lost following 12 weeks of detraining in this, and again when they start retraining, again there is an improvement in the strength. So what does that it suggest? It suggests that so when you even though there is a detraining for 12 weeks, you won't lose everything. So there is something, muscle memory and motor engrams are there. So when you go again for the reconditioning program, even after the break, for example, we are physically inactive for the last 3 months. Now after 3 months, imagine the gyms are open now. If you go back and again, we don't have to start from the scratch. We have all muscle memory and lot of corticospinal changes in the brain due to resistance training. So that will be able to help you. And you will be able to get that strength or power easily rather than starting from the baseline. Okay, and the other study which says that here they have given a maximum like that. There is a 12 weeks of resistance training given initially, and then following that 1 year of detraining, complete detraining. There is no activity following 12 weeks of training. So 52 weeks of detraining, almost a year, and then again 12 weeks of retraining. In this study, if you see again, so there is a significant improvement in the strength following 12 weeks of training, and there is a significant reduction in the strength after 1 year of detraining. Again, when you start from the detraining, again if you see, yeah, so there is an improvement. So even though there is a gap of 1 year, it is easier to get back because you see that from here to here, 12 weeks, there is an improvement here. Whereas from detraining to retraining, it just took 12 weeks to get a significant improvement in the strength. So even though if there is a gap of 1 year, next 12 weeks if you train harder, you will be able to achieve the same, almost similar result as that of the 12 weeks. So this gap we don't have to worry about it. So that's the inference of all these 3 studies. So even though we are inside and we are physically inactive, so let's think it as a detraining time, and then we will go back and then we'll get back the strength whatever we have lost during this time. So we don't have to worry about it. And when you are returning to sport after the quarantine, so this is what it should be actually. So the volume of the workout should progress slowly, not suddenly. And here you see, basically when you start with that, if you are going and starting the training now, resistance training now, we should not immediately go and lift the usual weight what we used to lift when we are at the peak. So we have to go get back the right fundamental movements proper. Okay, that is yellow. So general training proper. So proper conditioning, proper speed, everything is required. And after that, you go for specific training. Directly, you should not go after 6 months of detraining, and directly you should not go and start with your usual routine. But before that, make sure that you build the foundation properly, your movement skills properly, strength and power properly, and then you be focusing on the specific training, which is important. So it has to be in a progressive way. Intensity also, it has to progress like this, not, whereas here, this is usually happens, as we know that we have already a training history, so we don't bother about the rest period, detraining period, we directly go and then start working on this, working with our usual weights and things like that. So our foundation is not good. So what happens? This is what happens. So when the load is more after detraining and the time is very less, so if the load is very less, there won't be any adaptations. If the load is too much, suddenly you go after a break, and then if you work out, then there is an excessive, you are more prone for injury, you are at risk for sustaining injury. So what we have to do, you have to go progressively increase the resistance and things like that, so that you will be at an optimal stage, you won't get injured, as well as your performance also will improve. So how do we control the load? Manage the weekly training load, progress loading gradually, that is most important. Don't go and lift heavy weights as soon as the gym opens. Then raise the optimal zone so that there is a less chance for injury. So this is what happens. When you suddenly go and lift heavy weights, directly you will enter the injury zone and automatically you will end up in injury. So what you have to do, slowly progress it so that you will be able to reach the optimal stage, so that there will be training adaptations as well as you will be injury free. So what are the various ways of raising the optimal zone? So make sure that you have a good sleep, so that the recovery should be proper, and optimal nutrition and lifestyle should be proper. You manage the stress and training, high conditioning levels, focus on fundamental movements, focus on strength and power, and after that skill training. Then thorough warm up is important. Train all around the year. You should not be inconsistent again after once the lockdown gets over. You should not be inconsistent. You should be consistent. Make sure that you follow the training protocol properly, so that, as well as follow a proper lifestyle, so that you will be able to raise the optimal zone, so that your performance also will improve, as well as the chances of injuries also less. So what are the various ways of preventing injuries? You have to work on, as I said, the movement skills, we have to work on it, and you have to work on a lot of core stabilizers. A lot of stabilizing muscles are there in the body, that has to work properly, so that you won't tend to get injury. So this is as I said, the movement skill is the foundation of any sporting movement. Even though you have achieved this set of skill, detraining can affect this, because your stability factor can get compromised, mobility can be compromised. So those stability and mobility, you have to restore it following the movement skills, and after that you have to go to improve the strength, power, and then speed. So the most important aspect is the movement skill we have to get back, and the stability and the mobility we have to get back. So our training initially, after following detraining, we have to focus on these two mainly. So example movement skills I said, so doing this form of push-up and this form of push-up, a lot of differences there, right? So the movement skill is not proper. This is what happens, you got deconditioned completely, you go to gym and then work out, you lose everything, you lose the form. So with the improper form, you tend to get injury. See the deadlift, look at this, there is an excessive convexity. When you lift like this, you tend to load a lot of force to the spine and you might end up in injury. Whereas here, it is perfect, it is almost 45 degrees, straight, neutral. And look at this and this. So the form is completely out of proportion. So here it is proper. So you may tend to lose the form too. So make sure that you practice the form before loading the weights. So one example is like after detraining, this can happen. So this is called as a dynamic knee valgus, where that person doesn't have a control at the hip. What happens is, as I said, the stability is compromised. So for the knee to stabilize, when you land, so this is the landing mechanics. When you land, the knee has to be stabilized. So that can be stabilized by your hip musculature. So when your stability is lost in the hip musculature, so you tend, for example, in this case, it is the hip abductors and the hip external rotators are weaker. So what happens, the hip abductors are not able to contract the adduction and the internal rotation, and the external rotators are not able to contract the internal rotation moment. So you end up in valgus of the knee, which is dynamic knee valgus, right? So because it is during activity. So this dynamic knee valgus is considered to be one of the risk factors for ACL injury. So you are more prone for ACL injury when you don't practice your fundamental movement skill after detraining. So make sure that follow that movement skill. So this is what happens. So when these muscles gets weaker following detraining, so this is what happens, dynamic knee valgus, and it is one of the risk factors for anterior cruciate ligament injury. And one more example of ACL injury. So that is, one is landing mechanism, the other one is running mechanics, especially the cutting maneuver. So look at this person. So he goes, and if you don't have a control of the hip, suddenly when you turn, when you do a cutting maneuver, so what happens, there is no control of the movement of the femur because of the weakness of the abductors and the external rotators especially. That's the muscle which tend to go for weakness easily because they are stabilizers tend to go for weakness. So when they are not able to stabilize the femur tend to collapse, and that's what happens. The femur tend to collapse and go for dynamic knee valgus, and the foot is placed on the ground, so it's got stuck. So there is an excessive movement of the femur, excessive internal rotation of the femur, leading to dynamic knee valgus, leading to non-contact ACL injury. So it doesn't need to have a direct impact on the ACL injury. Just a muscle stability can have an impact on the non-contact ACL injury. So those stability factor has to be addressed before addressing your sport specific skill after detraining. Look at this, JEP2. So why I say is there is dynamic knee valgus, there are a lot of movement impairments happen and you have to focus on that. But definitely, all 5 fingers are not similar, isn't it? So there are people who are different, and this person with this, she got a silver medal in London Olympics without any injury, without any history of big injuries as such. So you don't have to correct everyone. Some people will have their own. So probably these could be due to the anatomical variations. So one, as I said, the stability factor, that is that can be addressed because you can strengthen the muscle and then that can be addressed. Whereas there are some cases where they have an anatomical changes. For example, if there is an excessive anteversion of the hip, you tend to have an excessive internal rotation. In such cases, we can't do anything just by strengthening, and you can't modify the mechanics of it. And they are good with that. It is meant for them. So you don't have to worry about that. So you don't have to focus on the complete biomechanics. Don't approach in the same way as you approach few people. Different people will have their different mechanics. Make sure that it is not structural. If it is functional, like weakness of the muscles or because of the lack of mobility that is causing that, then you have to focus on it. Otherwise, it's okay. You can leave them. She is a silver medalist who has who never had any serious injury risk in her life. So in spite of this, you can claim that probably if she would have had a better biomechanics, she would have got gold medal. We can claim like that. It depends. So what can be done in case if there is a functional issues? So For example, the first picture is he is working on the scapular stabilizers, and the second picture she is working on her abductors, which is also a stabilizer, and the third one neuromuscular training on the Bosu ball. Here again Swiss ball, she is training on the glutes, and here again he is working on his external rotators, which is a major stabilizer, and she is working on the erector spinae and the glutes, which is a major stabilizer, glutes max and the glutes medius. Now he is working on the range of motion. So like that we have to work on the stability as well as mobility. So initially when we, after detraining, when we go to the gym, so first we have to make sure that we will do all the ground exercises properly and whether the form is proper or not. So first one was the push-up. So modification of that, the variation is a diamond push-up. So this focuses a little more on the triceps as well as the chest pectoral muscle as well as the anterior deltoid muscle. And then so I'm challenging little bit more so that the stability is compromised, so that my activation of the other stabilizers also come into play. So this is a little tougher than the initial push-up. So I'm making it tougher, making the unstable surface so that it will be difficult. So now this is I'm incorporating a type of stretch shortening cycle, a kind of a plyometrics, where you activate by the quick stretch you are able to activate the muscle spindle so that you will be able to exactly get maximum muscular fiber recruitment so that the strength improves faster and the power improves faster. So that's the form of a plyometric, which is an advanced stage of push-up. Now coming to the abdominal, so yeah, you have to train that. Even I was deconditioned, so yesterday I took it, so I couldn't perform it properly. Ideally you have to convex, you have to completely, you have to completely do a trunk curl rather than doing like that way. So this is leg lowering. Again, you make sure that when you are doing leg lowering, you make sure that it is completely posterior tilted. You should not arch the back. Once you arch the back, that means your abdominal is not working. And this way we do it. A lot of people do a lot of sit-ups like this, aiming that they are going to reduce the tummy. It is not happening. They are not going to get stronger. What you are doing is you are strengthening the already shortened iliopsoas by that movement. So it is better to do this movement rather than that movement. And this is for the, so okay, we'll see it again. So that's for the rectors. Again, because of the detraining, my form is not good. Ideally, you have to curl the trunk so that you'll be able to activate the rectors properly. This is for lower abdominal work, where you are, forced. You should be able to hold the pelvis in the posterior tilt. So that means the lumbar spine should be in neutral position. Otherwise, the muscle won't be active. Make sure that you're not doing this, because you are actually, what is happening here is just the hip flexion is happening. As I said that, so there is rectus work, abdominal work. Again, rectus, leg lowering, variation of that. That means from distal to proximal, so the action is from distal to proximal, here from proximal to distal, but here, as I said, hip flexion is occurring, so iliopsoas is active, not the rectus abdominis, so make sure that you don't do that, because this imparts a lot of stress to the spine. So this is better. In this, activation of the rectus abdominis will be better than the previous one. So even a neck lift will activate that, so you try to lift it up as much as possible and then go back properly. So again, in this you see, when he is activating the back muscles, he is arching it too much. So once he arches too much, what happens is the glutes is not active at all. So it is basically the erector spine which is active, and that puts a lot of loading on the back, which is not correct. So you make sure that you keep the pelvis in a posterior tilt so that you will be able to activate the glutes max, which is one of the major stabilizer. So basically we are trying to focus on all the stabilizers trying to act, which was not active all these few months. And this is one of the toughest exercises. Definitely I can't do this because of the retraining. This is an old picture. So what is happening here is your erector spinae works, your hamstring works a lot, and then the calf muscle works a lot, and these work as an eccentric contraction. So both hamstring, calf, a little bit of glutes max, but here since there is an arch, that means the pelvis is tilted anteriorly, so that glutes max activation is a little lesser, but the hamstrings and the calf is quite active in this. So that's the way to activate the posterior chain of muscles. So now this is to activate your back muscles, that is the lats, that everyone knows, pull-ups, and there are a lot of variations in that. Now this is for the arm, for the biceps. So this is for the triceps, dips, So this will activate the triceps, concentric and eccentric contraction. And again elbow extension. This looks simple, but actually it is quite difficult. So you have to do a concentric and eccentric contraction of the triceps here. So all these movements can be done, without any weights. Even at home you can do that in order to maintain. And then there is a Bulgarian split squat. So this will activate all the lower limb muscles as well as the abductors, which is important because as soon as you go for a single limb stance, your demand for the abductors is more, that is a stabilizer more. Even this lunge, and then I'm rotating it so that I can activate the oblique muscles, which is an important core stabilizer for my spine. And then the overhead squat, probably you can have a wand if the gym is not open. With a wand you can do that. See, look at this form is perfect here. There is no anterior leaning of the trunk, or the knee is not crossing the toes too much. So it is perfect squat, and overhead squat is always difficult. You need to have a good flexibility and mobility of all the soft tissues and mobility of the joints, all the joints. And this is to activate your hip abductors and the external rotators in the frontal plane. He is trying to activate his core muscles because he is a racket sport player, means he is a badminton player, so that has to be activated. Now he is activating the lateral chain of muscles along with the dynamic work so that he makes it tougher. Now previously in the previous video I have done this split squat without any weight. Now with overhead squat weight it's going to be tough, and his form is exceptionally good. There is no arching, he is actually activating that muscle. Now prone planks, it will activate all the anterior musculature, especially the anterior slings muscles along with the prone plank. I'm trying to make it tougher by using TRX, and then I'm trying to activate my abductors. So it puts further challenge to the muscle. Now this guy is trying to activate his glutes, and then again he is challenging it, not only the pelvic bridge along with that, he is showing some challenge on that. And then again further challenge is using the TRX, he'll lift it up, activate the glutes on the unstable TRX, as well as activating the hamstrings. So pelvic bridge along with the knee flexion, so that you'll be able to activate the glutes max as well as the hamstrings. And here we say there is a posterior chain of muscles. There is a connection between the right side and the left side glutes, and the left side lats and the right side glutes. So opposite, it forms an oblique chain. So what we're trying to do is, you're trying to activate the opposite side glutes and the lats, and this side glutes and the lats. So you have to activate them simultaneously so that force transmission can occur properly at the thoracolumbar area, so that that area will be strong. So again lateral plank, maybe I'm trying to make it a little tougher by incorporating a little bit of core training along with the lateral plank, where your lateral chain of muscles will activate along with the core, especially the oblique slings. Now here I am trying to stretch the anterior oblique slings. So we have oblique slings, like as I said, posteriorly we have glutes max and the latissimus, it forms an X. Anteriorly also it forms an X with the adductors and the obliques, so it forms an X. So what I was trying to do is I was trying to stretch that. And using the TRX, and again I'm trying to stretch my lateral chain of muscles. You see all the lateral chain of muscles are interconnected. So I'm trying to stretch the lateral chain of muscles so that I'll try to get some flexibility of the lateral muscle chain. Okay, so these are the usual, these are the routine which you can do even without weights, and which are focusing more on the stability and the mobility factor. Okay, so now these are all called as TVWL exercises. That means you are trying to, for example, especially if you are an overhead athlete, you have to first focus on the scapulothoracic stability. So center stability will transfer force. If you have a good stability in the center, then the mobility will be proper. For example, you tend to get stiffness of the shoulder and tightness in the shoulder muscles, probably because of the weakness of the core muscles in the center. The same way you tend to get some issues, your performance might impair because of lockdown. You won't be able to execute same force as before because of lack of training. So initially you don't go and jump and try to hit at the same level. No, you try to get some stability in the center. So for shoulder especially, it is the scapulothoracic which is very important. So you try to regain the scapulothoracic stability, and after that you slowly incorporate your hitting activities, for example a volleyball spike or something, but make sure that you work on the scapular stability. So each and every position will activate different muscles. For example, this will activate the middle traps, exceptionally this will activate your lower traps, which usually tend to go for weakness. So there are studies which shows that if there is any injury to the shoulder anywhere, within 24 hours these scapular stabilizers muscles tend to go for weakness. One more study I can say where they have injected 100 ml of saline into the knee, and when they check the vastus medialis obliquus, which is a stabilizer, which is considered to be a stabilizer of the patellofemoral joint, immediately there is a inhibition of vastus medialis obliquus within 24 hours of time, because swelling it will affect, by reflex inhibition, it inhibits the muscles which are the stabilizers of that particular joint. So these are few examples. So if there is a shoulder pain, immediately the scapular stabilizers get affected. So inactivity can cause these scapular, it can compromise these scapular stabilizers. So what we have to do, train the scapular stabilizers. So this will activate all other scapular stabilizers too. So, and this is one of the toughest where, so you can see that, a lot of muscle activation of the scapular stabilizers. So these are the ways which you can do at home itself, but it's quite tough. And when you go to gym, don't try to lift heavy weights. Stability work, always go with lighter weights so that you will achieve stability properly. The moment you lift heavier weights, those small muscles you won't be able to target, all other big muscles will take over, and which is of no use. So use lighter weights so that stability you'll be able to achieve. Plus mobility, you will do a lot of stretching and everything, especially yoga, because yoga works on these myofascial lines. So you'll be able to get the good flexibility by using yoga rather than individually stretching the muscle. So for example, triangle pose, extended side angle pose, seated eagle pose. So these are the poses which actually work on the myofascial lines, focusing mainly on the neck, arm region. Look at that. So this will reverse prayer pose. All this will improve your mobility of your shoulder. Also it stretches the anterior myofascial line of the chest and everything. Here also see that camel pose, it stretches completely the anterior myofascial line. And here it stretches again the anterior myofascial line along with the arm line. Again here it stretches the posterior line along with the arm line. So all these muscle connections along with the myofascia get stretched by using all these postures. Okay, so we think training is important. Yes, definitely training is important. But similar to that, we can give an equal weightage to the recovery also. You got to take proper rest. How to take that? So why recovery is important? By training, yes, your sports performance it will improve, but imagine if your training is more and if your recovery is less, your performance is not going to improve. You will end up in injury. So what happens? What is this recovery exactly? So if you draw a graph with the performance on the y-axis and the other components on the x-axis, for example, the first point is less training and excessive recovery. Most of the time you are taking rest, you are taking off, and training is very less. That means performance is not going to improve. Whereas the second part, training is more, you are too enthusiastic. Training is more and the recovery is very less. You are not taking enough rest, you are not changing your lifestyle. In that case again, the performance is very less. Whereas where you have an optimal performance there is only when the training is similar to the recovery. The more stimulus you give, the more recovery is required. So when it is there, then it will be an optimal. Still, if you want to further increase, what should we do? You have to opt for faster recovery. So you have to choose some strategies to improve the recovery faster, as well as training stimulus should be more. So what can be done? So you will try something. In case if it fails, if only training is more and recovery is less, stimulus is more, that means you're training too hard and you're not, for example, you're not taking enough nourishment, or if you're not sleeping properly, what will happen? You try to push this and finally, instead of improving your performance, automatically you end up in injury. So this is what is happening. So there should be a balance between training stimulus and the recovery period. Okay, so this is what happened. So accelerated recovery if you do, so once you work out or do some training, what happens? There is a fatigue sets in, so your performance will come down and then it improves. And then it supercompensates. There is a theory called supercompensates. So what happens here is, when you accelerate the recovery, when you make it a little faster by certain means, which I'm going to discuss, you try to push that recovery faster, that means you're going to adapt faster, so that your performance will improve faster without sustaining any injuries. So there are various recovery methods. Number one, rest, definitely. Sleep is the most important aspect. Definitely most of us sitting at home, complete lifestyle has changed. We are not sleeping at the right time, isn't it? We sleep at 2 o'clock early morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and get up at 12 o'clock because no work, don't know what to do. That has to be changed. That lifestyle has to be changed. Nourishment. We get up at, once sleep pattern is changed, definitely breakfast you are missing. Breakfast is the most important aspect. So in the nourishment wise also you are compromising. So everything changes. And then the massage and foam rolling is another form of, to improve the flexibility of the connective tissues. Massage and foam rolling helps. Then stretching, as I said, yoga stretch would be better definitely as it focuses on the intermuscular connections rather than individual muscle stretching. And then the cryotherapy, yeah, we have seen a lot of people who are involving in, who after their competition, they, put a lot of ice, they take ice bath, cold water immersion, all those things. Let's see how it works. Hydrotherapy, contrast therapy, that is hot and cold, contrasting with each other, and then the compression garments. So these are the various recovery methods which usually people follow. So Farah and Andy Murray, a lot of athletes who actually believes, Andy Murray after his Wimbledon championship, he went directly to the ice bath. But actually taking ice bath as a recovery option is controversial. Recently, last week I think, no, last month, I think in June, yeah. So there was a study which shows that post-exercise cooling impairs muscle protein synthesis rates in recreational athletes. That means what? Cold water immersion during recovery from resistance training decreases the protein synthesis rate. So actually it is not helping, to condition the muscle, actually it is impairing the muscle condition. Before what we were thinking, before the studies, we used to think that, okay, there is an acute inflammation after training, so you keep ice, so inflammation reduces so that you will recover faster. And also there is one more concept called some proteins are released, and that protein is, able to upregulate the fat metabolism and things like that. So there are so many theories based on this cold water immersion or ice bath. Yes, perception will be good after a heavy, probably a competition like a tennis match or something. You feel better. Perception may be good. Your rate of perceived exertion may be, it's fine. But the problem is, in the long term, if you see, it is actually impairing the muscle conditioning. It is not helping at all. So we have to really think about whether should we use ice bath. But there are some studies which supports that too. So we should really think about it. And based on the sport, they say even there are some studies which says that there are changes in the muscle fiber types from type 2 to type 1. So marathoners, it is better to take this regularly rather than bodybuilders or weightlifters. So something like that. A lot of concepts are there. But this is a recent study. Last month it was published, and they are against this cold bath. And the other passive recovery, yes, sleep, definitely. Sleep is most important, and at least they say 9 to 10 hours of sleep per day, and in that 9 to 10 hours, at least 90% should come at night, so that the entire circadian rhythm will be proper. And active recovery, it is the most important one. For example, active recovery is, your activity should include less than 50% of your VO2 max. You should not push too much. You are pushing too much. A particular day you keep it separately, where you do a lot of swimming activities like or cycling or jogging, something like that, which is definitely less than 50% of your VO2 max. So when you do like this, when you do an active recovery, the lactate clearance is increased, and then there is a smooth decline in body temperature. What happens when you take ice bath suddenly? There is a sudden reduction in the temperature which may have different effects on the body. So there is a smooth decline is required. For that, active recovery is supported. Then reduced soreness. Muscle soreness is a big problem, especially after detraining. When you go and work out, you will have a lot of soreness. For that, you tried different things. Ice bath can help. There are studies which say that it may help in reducing the soreness. But they say even active recovery is helpful in reducing the muscle soreness. So one example I can give you. So one microcycle within a week, you can say, for example, Tuesday strength training, Wednesday cardiovascular training. In this, you can fix an active training of 30 minutes, easy cardio, that is biking or rowing or swimming, and a little bit of mobility works, okay, to improve the joint mobility, or a little bit of foam rolling and all those to improve the muscle flexibility. So you can incorporate that, active recovery one day, and you can incorporate, complete recovery, that is, complete rest of day, one day, in a week so that you will be proper. So that's how we can incorporate recovery pattern. So make sure that your recovery should balance the stimulus what you are imparting to your body. Okay, yeah, so most important thing is social distance training. Arsenal has started, they are the first team, I think they have started the social distance training. Even we are going to gym, make sure that you are maintaining social distance. That's the new normal. It has become a new normal now. So yeah, so that's important. So see how they are training. They make sure that they maintain the social distance, and no one comes closer. So that, but still they are able to maintain their fitness level. So that's how it is. Thank you very much.
It's the time to thank our speaker, Mr. Prabu, for giving time. This is a small token of gratitude from MAHE. Thank you, Mr. Prabu.
right now, hands up.
Everybody put your hands in the air.
Right now, let's get this party started.
Bounce back and forth when you hear that.
Everybody right now, hands up.
Everybody put your hands in the air.
Right now.
I wanna dance with somebody. I wanna feel the heat with somebody. Yeah, I wanna dance with somebody. With somebody who loves me. Oh, I wanna dance with somebody. I wanna feel the heat with somebody. Yeah, I wanna dance with somebody. With somebody who loves me. Oh, I wanna dance with somebody. I wanna feel the heat with somebody. Yeah, I wanna dance with somebody. With somebody who loves me.
Hello everyone. MAHE Sports Council has organized a webinar on Every Athlete's Matter, COVID-19 during and after. For this session, we have with us Ms. Swati Acharya and Dr. Meenakshi Garg. They will be the speaker for this session. I would like to introduce Dr. Meenakshi Garg. Dr. Meenakshi Garg is the coordinator of Department of Dietetics and Applied Nutrition at WGSHA MAHE Manipal. A nutritionist by profession, she has been working with the Manipal group for more than 26 years now. Completed PhD in Nutritional Science in 2019 and Master in Food and Nutrition in 1988. She has to her credit 11 research publications in national and international index journals. Now I would like to introduce Ms. Swati Acharya, Assistant Professor, Senior Scale at Department of Dietetics and Applied Nutrition, WGSHA, MAHE, Manipal. Her main stream of interest focuses on sports and fitness nutrition in maintaining the healthy eating and lifestyle. She had been resource person for various forums and has wide clinical experience and also cultural coordinator for WGSHA student. This is the brief introduction of Ms. Swati Acharya and Meenakshi Garg.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this webinar organized by the Sports Council of MAHE. For the next 45 minutes, me and my colleague, Ms. Swati Acharya, will take you through a topic that we have called as Do Supplements and Nutraceuticals Give Sportsperson an Edge? And we'll be talking on the 3 R's of realizing, recognizing and regulating your nutrition and the sports supplements that are associated with that. And before we begin, I thought we'll just talk a little about when sports people are competing, there is only one thing on their mind, and that is success. So what are the 3 factors that we say that the success in sports depends upon? The 3 factors we list as genetic endowment, the state of their training, and also the nutrition. Now out of these 3 factors, one we say is non-modifiable, that is the genetic endowment, because that is not something we can change. But the remaining 2 is something that we work on, that is the state of training. And most sports people will follow a specialized exercise training program, which is going to improve their athletic performance. And then of course nutrition, which is very critical and a very important component of the total training program. Athletes and fitness enthusiasts will need the same essential nutrients that a non-athlete requires. However, the only difference is that when you are competing and you are performing at a level more than a normal person, those requirements sometimes are higher per kg body weight as compared to a normal person. So absolute requirements will be higher for sports people as compared to a non-athlete. So it is important to explore and assess the increased nutritional needs of athletes before, during and after competition in order to achieve an optimal sports performance is how we call it. Some of the common terms that you will hear as we talk about this whole process, and you would have heard otherwise also, when we talk specifically in terms of nutrition supplements, there is a term that we use called as food for special dietary use for sports people. And this is a definition that has been given by the Sports Authority of India, wherein they say that FSDUs are specifically processed or formulated products that satisfy particular dietary requirements of sports people that may exist or arise because of certain sports and also certain related physical activities. In relation to that, another term that you would have heard, what we call as ergogenic aids. Ergogenic aid may be a physical substance, it could be a psychological or a biological function that helps in improving the performance of an individual. Within ergogenic aid, we have another term that we use, what we call as a nutritional ergogenic aid. So, a nutritional ergogenic aid is a substance that is found in your diet, that is ingested in an effort to produce improved or enhanced sports, exercise and physical performance. Then the main thing that we are going to focus on is the nutrient ingredient, which we are going to emphasize that this is something that can come from your regular intake that you are consuming. So, this could mean a vitamin, a mineral or an amino acid, which is as specified in the Food Safety and Standard Regulations 2016 of the Government of India, and these regulations are given by the Food Safety Standards Authority of India. So, these include food or health supplements, nutraceuticals, food for special dietary use is also a part of that. Then you have food for special medical purposes, functional foods and also novel foods. So, within that, like I said, for us the main concern is the FSDU, which is for the sports person. Another thing that keeps coming up is a prohibited substance. What is a prohibited substance? As the name indicates, it is something that should not be taken, a banned substance or a prohibited substance. How do we know what are the banned substances? For that, always refer to the regulatory documents. So, the Anti-Doping Agency of India as well as the World Anti-Doping Agency, what we call as WADA, has given a clear list of prohibited substances that sports people should not consume. And there are certain generic terms that have been used for health supplements that are meant for sports persons, and this is again a list that is notified by the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, and this falls under 13 categories which I will list for you. This includes multivitamins, whey proteins, soya proteins, calcium, antioxidants, then sports drinks which include amino acids, carbohydrates, proteins as well as electrolytes. Then you have the individual amino acid supplements, glucosamines, L-carnitine, creatine monohydrate, and then you have a combination of amino acids like arginine, glutamine and branch chain amino acids. That is something you may have heard more often. And then we have another category what we call as hematinics. Hematinics are hemopoietic nutrients which help in improving or the RBC count in your body. So, these include iron, vitamin B12, folic acid as well as vitamin C. All of them help in developing more and more blood cells in your system. Then we have another category what we call as mass gainers, and finally the protein bars. So, what we will do across the next 35 to 40 minutes is the first part we will talk in general about the type of supplements that are available, how do you recognize them, how do you realize what is important, and then how do you regulate the use of those supplements and the normal diet, how do you balance between that. So, the first part I will hand over to my colleague Ms. Swati Acharya. Once she finishes, I will take the last part as a special case of protein supplements, because we understand that is one category of supplements that is consumed more and you have a lot of questions related to that. So, I hand over to you Swati for the next part.
Thank you ma'am. I will continue about in relation to what to choose, whether it is from the food source or is it from the supplements. Always athletes have a doubt whether I am getting enough nourishment or not, whether I should start consuming supplements, what to consume, how much to consume, which brand to choose. So, there is always a confusion. So, to solve the confusion, let me tell you about, do you know basically about the what supplements what you are using. So, while some mainstream supplements are made by responsible manufacturers, a growing number of supplement products contain dangerous and undisclosed ingredients including steroids, stimulants and other dangerous drugs. So, one major issue is that unscrupulous companies are marketing supplements spiked with these dangerous substances, taking advantage of many consumers. Desires for maximized sports performance, that is the main focus every athlete think about, how can I improve my performance, and also aesthetic improvements, and also advertising them as healthy and safe products when they are not. So, athletes searching for a competitive edge often look to a supplement or a special combination of nutrients to find it. So however, there are no quick fix supplements for improving the sports performance. So consuming a wide variety of foods and staying well hydrated are basic cornerstones to reaching athletic potential. So let's see what are the different types of supplements are available in the market. So madam told about the 13 items which are categorized under different categories, under which one of which are antioxidants. So basically people consume this to minimize the free radical damage to the skeletal muscle, so and also thereby reducing the muscle fatigue and inflammation and soreness. Basically these are consumed by the aerobic sports and also anaerobic sports people, because both are looking into reducing the free radical damage. So these are the some of the ones what you can see the image in the image which are popular in the market. And also the next is the arginine, so which increases the blood flow and delivery of oxygen, nutrients to skeletal muscle, serves as a substrate for creatine production, increases the secretion of human growth hormone, stimulate muscle growth also. So these also basically mostly often consumed by the anaerobic sports people. Next is about the beta alanine, so which increases the synthesis of carnosine, dipeptide that buffer the changes in the muscle pH and also thereby reducing the muscle fatigue, and also for the force production. So these also basically taken up by the bodybuilders or the weightlifters or wrestlers, where they need the muscle force to increase. Next is about the famous one where most of the athletes or the trainers, people who are focusing on maintaining the fitness are depending on this, that is the branched chain amino acid, which are leucine, isoleucine and valine, which can be metabolized by the mitochondria in the skeletal muscle to provide the energy during the exercise. Next is about the caffeine, which acts as a detoxifying agent in the body, so which blocks the activity of the neuromodulator adenosine, reduces the perceived pain and exhaustion, and also people take it to reduce the weight as it flush out the water percentage in the body, and they can be participating in the reduced weight category. So these also, and also people when they are into weight bodybuilding, they generally take these supplements to reduce the which can be as a fat burner when they are in the cutting phase. Citrulline, so it dilates the blood vessels to increase the delivery of oxygen and also a nutrient to skeletal muscle. So these are basically nitrates which are popular in the market now, so which increases the free radical damage also, and also it improves the performance in aerobic sports. So next is the creatinine, which helps supply muscles with energy for short term predominantly anaerobic activity, again which is more popular in weightlifters, bodybuilders, all those people, they do take these supplement for the muscle growth and also for the short term the burst of energy which they require when they are lifting a particular weight. Next is the glutamine, which involved in the metabolism and energy production, contributes for the nitrogen for many critical biochemical reactions. The other one is about the iron supplementation, increases the oxygen uptake, reduces the heart rate, and also decreases the lactate concentration during exercise. These are also majorly consumed by the aerobic sports people, where they think that where the iron increases the oxygen take-up capacity and it reaches the different muscle cells, and release of energy will happen. The other major one, the popular one, is the protein. People, plenty of athletes and different kinds of sports people depend on this as the whey protein. So we know that the major function of protein is about to build and maintain and repair the muscles. So these are the different types of supplements which are available in the market. Next, I'm going to talk about the 3 R's. What we are talking about today is about the realize, recognize and regulate, or reduce the dependency of the supplements in your daily routine. So before moving to that, what are these supplements? So these are energy drinks, it can be, or it can be a vitamin and minerals, or it can be herbal remedies or a homeopathic medicine, or it can be a probiotic, or a protein powder, or a fat burner, or a mass gainer, or a muscle booster. So it can be of anything. So it depends on the individual what they are focusing on, whether the person is wanting to lose weight or the person is wanting to gain more of muscle mass. So do you need them? When they have taken the percentage, they have found that 30% of people take up these mainly because of health maintenance and nutritional deficiency. So understanding whether your requirement need to be understood first, whether your nutrient requirement is met or not. We can't just blindly think that I am deficient with any kind of nutrient. So basically these athletes have a tendency to think that I am deficient with some of the nutrients. So I need to start consuming supplements which can affect on the daily recommendation, because vitamins and minerals can go up beyond the recommendation unit. So they say that 2.2 to 3.7 times recommended daily intake. It goes above that. So more than that, people are consuming the vitamins and mineral in their diet due to supplement usage. Next is about, should you believe these hype? So generally what these supplements do, they give a tagline about lose weight fast, build muscle fast. So that catch up the people, or certified free of banned substances, all natural, because all natural cannot be natural as such. So there will be some kind of hidden things. So the question always should come in athlete's mind about, is it really true when they say that can anybody lose a weight so faster, or anybody can gain weight so fast? So what in this stuff anyways, what are the ingredient has it got in that? So who is saying that this is certified by? Which organization is claiming that this particular product is certified? So what are the hidden sources, or what are the ingredient it has gone in, has to be well checked. Next is about, are they safe? So you need to understand the product may be manufactured in a particular place where the hygienic condition is not maintained, or it will make you test positive for the banned drug. So as I said, what are the ingredient has gone inside that need to be checked, because the chances are there. What are the other hidden ingredients what they have put in when you try to compete in a national or international level? When you undergo for testing, the possibility of banned drugs may be present in your system. So that can create a lot of problems. So I'm contaminated with a steroid, so that can be also possible. Consuming steroids also, it's banned, and also it can cause a lot of health issues. So I'm illegal. So these are the things need to be kept in mind. So the first R is about realize. So these are the risks associated with using the supplements. So the first one is, law and regulation may not protect you from dangerous supplements, because supplements are not evaluated or approved by the FDA before they are sold. So you need to check for the certification. Some supplement companies buy impure or contaminated raw ingredients. So the source of that particular ingredient need to be well checked. Supplement companies deliberately spike their products with performance enhancing drugs. So when they say you lose weight faster, that may be, there are some ingredients may be there which is causing you to lose weight, or sometimes it says that you will gain weight faster. So there may be some kind of thing like a steroid or a growth hormone or something which can trigger the weight gain mechanism. So the internet makes it easy to get away with selling illegal supplements, because now social media has taken up everything. So people are getting to know information, but authentic information and the correct information need to be taken up. The other point is about the realizes doctors, trainers, coaches and parents may not understand the risk that supplement may pose, because all the aspects everyone may not be educated about. The doctors may know about the some chemical composition, but other ingredient they may not know. But the coaches, so coaches, are they well trained about it? Are they qualified to tell? Because nowadays coaches or the fitness trainers are the the role model for the athlete. So when they are saying, so they need to be qualified and knowing about what are these ingredients, those supplements are having it. And the parents and the coaches, so parents generally get influenced by the other co-participant or their peer group. They are seeing that particular child is doing well in their sports, so they get influenced with that. So they may not know about these supplements. Other realize about your reliance on the supplement may be unnecessary. These are the some of the assumptions what generally athletes have in their mind is about, I can't get everything I need from my diet. So this is a myth, generally it is there in their mind. The other assumptions are like, I don't have time to prepare and cook everything I need. So generally lack of time when the students are doing their education, they feel that nobody is there to cook their meal, they're staying in hostel, though they feel that this easy, just mix in with water and shake it and consuming it as a pre-game meal or a post-game meal. So my body is under a lot of strain and I need immune booster to keep from getting sick. So that happens when you're not consuming enough amount of nutrients for your need. For the amount of workout you're doing or the amount of intensity of work you're doing, you may not be getting enough. That's the reason people may start feeling sick or tired, or they feel that their immunity is going low. Or it may be, even if it's not proven, but there is maybe a chance that supplements may work, it's worth it. So because they're paying a huge amount for the supplements, they may feel that I'm paying this much, so it may benefit somewhere. They work, the confidence in that. So everyone uses supplements and that might gain an advantage over me. So everyone is using, why can't I? So that kind of assumption. So supplements are natural and safe way to enhance health. This is again a myth. So they feel that it says a natural tag, what you can see on the packaging. So they may feel that it enhances the health. That's about the realize. Next is about the recognize. So recognizing is very important. Supplements risk when you see it are learn to recognize prohibited substance on the labels or the advertising. So reading the nutrient label is very important. Learn to recognize the extreme performance enhancing claims and risky product categories, what they have mentioned. Learn to recognize illegal health claims. Learn to recognize situations where the clinical studies don't really support the advertising claims, and also learn to recognize illegitimate endorsement. So the what all advertisement, how they are promoting need to be very well checked. So next is about learning names that might indicate the stimulant or the steroids presented. So on the nutrient label, we can see some kinds of wordings what they would have been specified in that, where the label may contain numbers coupled with the Greek letters like 1A, B, some coding they would have done, or any phrase below that you can see on the screen that product might contain steroid or a stimulant, like which the supplement ending with these words like pentane, hexane, steen, deonon. So these kinds of words which may be possible that it may have steroid or any kind of stimulants. The other one is to understand the claims what they are putting about, recognize the exaggerated or false promises what they are putting, like newest scientific breakthrough, the caption will tell, or secret formula, or it may be money back guaranteed. So when you're paying that much amount, you may feel, okay, this much they are claiming, it may benefit me, quick fix, used for thousands of years, or it may be what the expert don't want you know. So they're challenging the experts who are in that particular field. So these are the claims need to be very well checked before going for such kinds of supplements. Next is about regulate or reduce the consumption of this. Before you get into any kind of supplements or you think of you need to start taking, please have a check on these kinds of information which need to be present on the supplement. So this is mentioned by the WADA, that is World Anti-Doping Agency, where they have specified this particular specification, that is NSF certified for sport before you buy. So you need to check the label about informed choice or NSF or the USP, the images will be specified in that. More things to look for is about the list of ingredients on the label. So all the ingredients need to be listed, and the dosage is based on the scientific research or not. So when they say that you need to consume 1 serving or 30 grams of whatever you're consuming, whether there is a scientific evidence behind it or not. Test it for banned substances, any kind of banned substances where you can get the information in the WADA site. If you just put www.wada.organization, you will get all the information regarding the banned substance by the World Anti-Doping Agency, and also uses branded ingredients or the raw material. What are the ingredients has gone in making that particular product. Again, other healthy tips what they're claiming about, don't order online or in the mail unless you know the brand in are safe. So it is very important. Some friends are buying, somebody is buying, it's very popular in the online market, so don't go on that blindly. So natural, be careful when you see a word natural on the label. So natural doesn't mean always safe. The word is dangerous, so you need to be very well have a check on that. Never try a new supplement before your competition. So you have within 15 days there is a competition, so you want to try a new supplement. Ever do that, because the chances that adverse effect of that supplement may be, it can happen on you. So you need to be very well, confident in that using that particular product, which you think that it is enhancing your performance or a speed or the weight what you're lifting or whatever it may be. So you should never try a new supplement before you are ready for the competition. So if you're taking a new supplement or thinking of trying one, go for a dietitian or a athletic trainer first who are informative about, who have studied about this and know the research behind it, then only start taking up these supplements. So this is just a comparison to understand what we eat naturally has everything what we get in the supplements. So in this image you can see, which is there in this side, nutritional information, it's a nutrient label of a particular branch chain amino acid. If you just see that 5 gram serving size, you're not getting any of the nutrients of energy, carbs, or protein, or any nutrients. So you're getting only the focus what they're telling about the branch chain amino acid, about the leucine, isoleucine, and valine. But if you see to the proportion of just 100 grams of paneer, where we on a regular basis we use it, we may use it as a burji form, we may use it as a tikki form, anything, people just eat it with, mix with the sugar and make it like a chena and people eat it. So you can see that with the branch chain amino acid, you're getting energy, protein, fats, carbohydrate, and also calcium, which are the important nutrients which are essential for the sports people. So where we are consuming our meal, with that we are consuming specially for the branch chain amino acid. I feel it's the what we are naturally getting, we are consuming additional which may not be needed by the body. So know your diet, what you're consuming, then think of taking these supplements. So these are the some key points. So the everyday in an athlete's life. Focus on the carbs for energy. So you need to take a wide spread of all the carbohydrate. General myth is there that carbs are fattening. So they feel that they'll put on weight, it's more of starch, but know your carbs. So when you're depending on whole grain carbohydrate, whole grain cereals, you get good amount of good quality carbohydrate. So focus on carbs in all your meals. So from the cereals, from the legumes, from the nuts, so it's better to, from the fruit sources, it is better to depend on the carbohydrate for your energy. Spread out your protein foods. So in an entire day's diet, spread out your protein. Just don't focus on only for breakfast or only for dinner, only for post-game or a pre-game. Spread out your protein for an entire day's diet and also depend on both animal source and from the plant sources. Use caution with fatty foods. So too much fatty food can cause discomfort when you're training or competing. So think on what kind of fatty foods you need to concentrate. It's always better to depend on omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acid and also the monounsaturated fatty acid. So the good quality fats need to be consumed, but before training and post training you can depend on some amount of fats, but before training, an hour before, it may cause discomfort, so have a check on that. Eat with food safety in mind, because consuming food is important, yes, but the hygiene is also very important. If any kind of infection happens, it can cause a impact on your performance. So have a safety check also. Flow with fluids. So during the game and practice, so hydration is very important for sports people as a pre-hydration, during and also post-event. So for the amount of sweat loss which has happened post-event, also recovering your fluid is very important. So it can be a source from as a water with some kind of electrolytes, and it can be a milk-based, any kind of beverage can be included. Timing is everything. You need to have a correct timing of your sleep pattern and also the meal what you're consuming. How many hours before you're consuming, you're eating your breakfast before you go for your training or pre-event, because if you're loading too much, it can cause discomfort. So you need to plan your timing according to the game schedule or a training schedule what you have, so you need to plan accordingly. Topping it off with milk. So milk is the best source. We're not getting only protein, you're getting so many other micronutrients also with that. So it is always better to, like for post-game meal, for example, within 30 minutes what we say that you need to replenish your amount of glycogen lost and also the protein which is utilized by the system. So you can just take a chocolate milk or something which gives you some amount of carbohydrate for your glycogen loss and also a good quality protein for your muscle repair. Pre-game breakfast, as I told about pre-game meal, it's very important to consume. So plan accordingly to the need of the person, which I'll be talking a little later about what are the types of pre-game meal can be consumed. Don't light load or skip any meal like lunch or any kind of meal. So it is very important that your nutrient requirement need to be met with the different types of meal in a day. So don't light load also. Don't think that if I'm eating too much, I can't perform. So according to the need, please consume it. And also post-practice or afternoon game snack. So post-game is also very important. People always think about how I need to prepare for the game. Event is over, you won a particular game. But after that, it's very important to recover whatever nutrient which has lost by the body. It may be the glycogen, it may be the fluids, it may be the protein which is required for the repair and maintenance of your muscle and the tissue which has already got damaged because of the amount of workout or the training you have undergone. So next about regulate, this is just to understand the need of a person. So according to the intensity of your activity, the carbohydrate demand is there. So when you consume something excess, it gets converted to fat in the body, because if your physical activity is not happening at that intensity, then you need not consume that much amount of carbohydrates. You can see there is light, moderate, high and very high. So according to your need, if somebody is training themselves in the moderate category on a daily basis for your training phase, 5 to 7 grams per kg body weight is what carbohydrate what we recommend. So that is for 1 hour of exercise somebody is doing. If it is of high intensity activity for 1 to 3 hours somebody is practicing every day, then 6 to 10 grams on that basis we recommend the carbohydrate of the person. You just need to multiply your weight with the amount of grams of carbohydrate. So you will know amount of gram of carbohydrate your body would require for the amount of activity what you are doing. So in this side you can see that acute fueling strategies for different kinds of events, like for example, general flowing up, like preparation for events about 90 minutes of exercise. Then in the range of 7 to 12 grams per kg body weight what you need. For example, before exercise, just 60 minutes before exercise, then the demand is not so high. So you need to know for that particular 1 hour before how much I need to consume, that what you say the circulatory glucose what we say will be maintained, so the body doesn't depend on the storage what is there in the system. Next is about the protein recommendation. So protein also we recommend on the basis of the demand by the system. The general range is 1.2 to 2 gram per kg body weight of the person. So that also depends on what kind of activity you are involved in, whether you are into aerobic sports or anaerobic sports, whether you are into muscle gaining phase or in the losing phase. Accordingly the demand will be decided. So about pre-game and post-games, because during game we never recommend any protein. Pre-game also a combination with the carbohydrate protein can be recommended, but again too much because protein comes with fat also. If you are depending on any kind of animal sources, it has good amount of fat also. Like 4 hours before you can consume, but just 1 hour before depending on protein again causes discomfort. But post-game it is very important to consume a carbohydrate and a protein based product. About the fat, I had already told about what kind of fat you need to depend on about the omega-3 and omega-6. So when it need to be consumed, pre-game, 4 hours before, as a satiety factor, you can include some small amount of butter or any kind of oil in your cooking. But too much of fat just 1 hour before also can cause discomfort. Post-game meal, yes, you can include, when you're including protein and carbohydrate combination, you will get some amount of fat in a meal, like a peanut butter or just a butter can be applied with your sandwich or whatever you're consuming. About the micronutrient need, the iron, what you're talking about, the international standard, but for Indian, the iron demand is different. So the iron, you can see that calcium, iron, vitamin A, all the demand is higher. So when you're consuming a balanced meal, when you're including all the food groups in your diet, definitely you will get the required amount of micronutrient in your diet. Then it's about the hydration before exercise, 5 to 10 ml per kg body weight of the person. During exercise, it depends on what intensity you're playing, how long you're playing, it's on that basis you need to keep in mind. And about post exercise, so you need to replenish the amount of fluid loss which has happened. So know your supplements in the natural source. So earlier I said about what are the different supplements are available in the market. Now I'll show what are the natural source these nutrient what you are looking in the supplement are present in our foods. So antioxidant like vitamin C, E and coenzyme Q10, you can see that vitamin C is widely spread on a daily basis, like simple tomatoes what we eat every day in our rasam or sambar, it has good amount of vitamin C content. All the fruits, the citrus fruits has good amount of vitamin C. Vitamin E content, they are all present in the nuts and oil seeds. So you can see in some of the vegetables, fruits, and also the vegetable oil what we use has good amount of vitamin E, and the Q10 also, it is also widely spread in the animal source and even in the plant sources. Arginine, you can see that it is widely spread in nuts, animal source, nuts and oil seeds, has all these kinds of the supplement nutrient what you are looking for are present in that. Beta aniline, it is present in all the protein based products. You can see the legumes, cereals, and also the animal foods like milk, chicken, fish. All these has good amount of beta aniline content. The branch chain amino acid also similar one, because all the protein, because these are the amino acid which will be present in all the protein sources what we depend on a regular basis, has all these nutrients. The caffeine generally in the sports drink also you need to have a check on before what you use during the sports, whether they have caffeine content, because those things again causes more amount of water loss in your system, you need to have a check on. All the coffee based products, all these have good amount of caffeine, and some of the chocolates also. Citrulline, as I told, the nitrate content like beetroot, garlic, lettuce, celery, all these have good amount of citrulline content which acts as a the free radical damage also it reduces, and also it increases the sports performance in the person. The creatinine most preferred by the bodybuilders, all these people, to enhance the force in the muscles. So all the animal sources have good amount of creatinine content. The glutamine is also, you can see it is present in the legumes, vegetables, milk and milk products, and also in the animal sources. Iron sources, again there is heme iron and non-heme iron, which is heme iron has a better bioavailability in the body, and non-heme iron are from the plant sources, so they need to be consumed with the vitamin C rich food, so the absorption is better in the system. So this is a poster where you can see the energy and performance booster food, where you can see the dark chocolate, dates, because these are the things that you can carry as a quick snack, like a pre-game meal or a post-game meal before you reach your homes. This can be carried in a box. You can eat it before event or a post event, like chocolates, banana, tender coconut, you it's an excellent source of potassium content. Sprouts, almonds, beetroot, yogurt, eggs, peanut butter. So all these can be accompaniment with some kind of foods what you're consuming, or some things can be carried, because dates is an excellent source of, you get some amount of glucose also, and it has good amount of iron content, so many vitamin A, B2, B3, all the nutrient possible it has. So people will get immediate energy, glucose source also from this particular product. So coming to the pre, during and post game meals, so how you need to plan your meals. So here it explain about a day before your competition. Start with the hydration, have a very well hydration. Athletes plate, that's every meal, so concentrate on your everyday meal according to your need. So snack smart, so think what you need to consume before event, post event also. So before warm up, just that is 1 to 2 hours before warm up, you need to consume your breakfast if you're practicing in the morning. So your proper breakfast you can consume, and 1 hour before, it's always should be focus on the more of carbohydrates in the diet, and 1 hour before, just before the event, it's better, depends on some of the fluids if you want. So immediately post exercise, you can see it is important to consume good amount of protein and a carbohydrates meals. So then you can continue with your meal, so you can think of winning your event. So for a pre-event meal, less than 1 hour, these are the options like sports drink, carbohydrate gels which are available, cordial sport bar or a jelly lollies can be had. So it depends on person to person, and the tolerance level also should be kept in mind. 2 hours before the exercise, so you can think of a liquid meal supplement like a milkshake or a fruit smoothie, sports bar, or a breakfast cereal with a milk, or a cereal bar, fruit flavored yogurts, or a fresh fruit as such can be eaten. So 4 hours before the exercise, it can be a typical breakfast what you eat, baked potatoes or a cottage cheese with filling and a glass of milk, baked beans on a toast, breakfast cereal with milk, bread rolls with cheese or meat filling and a banana, fruit salad with fruit flavored yogurt, or it can be a pasta or rice based any kind of meal what we eat with a sauce based on the low fat ingredients. Can be a tomato, vegetables, any kind of vegetable what you prefer with, if you are a non-vegetarian you can include a meat also. So these are some of the images what you can see, the types of pre-game meal people can think of consuming, like oatmeal with banana and almonds. So it can be clubbed together, 3 of it, and make a porridge or something. Whole wheat bread with a peanut butter and a banana, or it can be a plain yogurt with any kind of berries what you have. So it need not be you should go on that. So any options which can be easily available can be eaten, and also almonds, walnuts, these are the good source of omega-3 fatty acids you can depend on. Typical to our Indian food, which generally people think that it's heavy, but which is more nutrient dense, I can talk about. You can see a pav which is filled with, it can be a egg burji or it can be a paneer burji. It can be eaten, need not go for a vada or something as a vada pav. So it can be have a small set dosas, or it can be a idli, it can be a upma, or it can be a roti. Again, multigrain concept, what we talk about, a cereal and a pulse paste can mixed and make a roti or something like that also can be eaten. This option can be used as a pre-game meal, as a 2-3 hour before the event, or it can be preferred as a post-game meal also, can be a filling meal. During event, as I told earlier also, hydration need to be very well thought of. Anytime feel thirsty, you need to drink milk, any kind of beverage. Encourage drinking fluids during timers and breaks also. Anytime you get breaks, you need to replenish with fluids. Encourage the ability to drink whenever they want and not to wait until they are told for a break. So the need has to be understood by the individual. Adjust fluids need during practice according to the weather, amount of equipment worn, and also practice duration and intensity, because each component, each factor can influence for the amount of sweat loss by the person. Post sports, it is very important to replenish the fluid loss which has happened. So within 30 minutes after exercise, drink a chocolate milk or any kind of formulated sports drink containing protein and a carbohydrate. As I told, people have started taking these whey supplements or something post exercise. So need not always depend on that, it can be taken through a natural source also. So replace all fluids lost during exercise plus any lost exercise through urination also need to be have a check on that. So eat a good meal with food containing a good amount of water also. Next is about the post-game meal. So it should be always easily digestible and absorbable carbohydrate need to be thought of. So that's why we talk about moderate to high glycemic index, because the digestion and absorption is also faster, like potatoes, rice, pasta, whole wheat bread, breakfast cereal, flavored yogurt or a fruit smoothie with a combination of protein like chicken or a turkey or a fish like a tuna, salmon, eggs, yogurt, milk, cashew nuts or almonds can be included according to the choice and preference of the person. So next will be continued by Meenakshi Garg. I'll hand it over to her.
Thank you, Swati, for that elaborate explanation. What I will do now is, I will talk among all the supplements that we spoke about and the nutrients we spoke about. We know that the major concentration is on protein, and athletes usually sometimes tend to overdo on the utilization of protein. So the special case of proteins, I will be talking to you on the headings of what are the factors that affect those protein needs, whether supplementation of protein in sports nutrition is required and to what extent it is required, what is the type and quantity of protein consumption, and what are the dangers when we consume the protein in excess, whether it is coming from the supplement or it is coming from the normal diet. Before I go into that, we need to understand the basis of the recommendation as to why we are telling how much to consume for an athlete. So this particular table that you can see on your screen now, this is a categorization done based on the types of games and sports and the energy expenditure associated with those sports, and this is done by the National Institute of Nutrition, and they have divided into 5 categories, wherein the group 1, that is the topmost category, that includes all the power events of higher weight category and weightlifting, boxing, wrestling and throwing events, etc. The second category includes all the endurance sports. So here we have the marathon, the long distance running, walking, road cycling, rowing, long distance swimming. Group 3 is the team events, athletics and power events of middleweight category. So this includes hockey, football, volleyball, basketball, sprinting, jumpers, boxing, wrestling, weightlifting, judo. And group 4 are events of lightweight category. This includes gymnastics, table tennis, boxing and weightlifting and judo of a lower weight category. And the group 5, that is skill games like shooting, archery and equestrian events. So as you would have understood when you see that table, the energy requirement is highest for group 1, and then it is coming down as we are moving down that order for group 5. This particular table that we have here is based on those 5 categories of sports that we have, based on which we decide how much energy is required for each of those sports per person per day. So if you see here, the group 1 on an average 6,000 calories per day, followed by group 2, that is 5,200 calories, and then you come to the last group, which is 3,000 calories per day. Along with understanding how much total energy is required, it's very important for us to understand how we break up that energy from the different sources of energy that we have. The 3 macronutrients, that is the proximate principles that we call as carbohydrates, proteins and fats, and there should be a fair distribution of this energy coming from these 3 main macronutrients. So carbohydrates generally should provide for about 55 to 60% of the energy. In some cases it may even go up to 65% energy coming from carbohydrate. Remember, that is the main energy source both in your body as well as in the food that you are consuming, and that is the most instant form of energy that a body requires. The second category is the protein, which is not really an energy giving nutrient. That is the nutrient that all the sports people are actually consuming for enhancing sport, building tissue or repairing the losses that are happening. And then you have fats, which is an essential component for maintaining the structural integrity of the vessels and also giving the energy that is required as a larger reserve, as we call. So if this particular composition that we are talking of and the breakup that we are talking of is important. So if you notice here, across the 5 categories, there is a change in the percentage of carbohydrate and fat, but the protein percentage is fixed at a 15% constant. Now, although percentage wise it is fixed at 15%, because the calories are changing, the absolute quantity of protein is going to change for each category of those sports persons from group 1 to group 5. So somebody who is being recommended a diet of 6,000 calories compared to somebody who is recommended a diet of 3,000 calories, when you convert that percentage of protein into the grams of proteins, the absolute numbers are going to change. And remember, this is a good breakup because as you heard in the previous part of the presentation also, carbohydrate is really essential in order to fuel all that exercise that you are going to perform. So 2 main things that carbohydrate will do. 1, it gives the essential requirement of the energy and the instant energy that your body requires in order to perform. It spares the protein so that the protein is not used for energy and it can do its own job. That is your main purpose of wanting to eat that protein in the first place. Another thing very important to remember, when you consume adequate carbohydrate, it triggers the release of insulin in your system. Insulin helps in not only making sure that there is enough deposition of carbohydrate in your system, but it also helps in the synthesis of protein to take place. So, it is very important that carbohydrate is not only giving you energy, it is also triggering the release of insulin, which will ultimately help in protein synthesis. So, even a post meal, what just now you heard, it requires to be both high protein as well as high carbohydrate. When you want to rebuild also, that carbohydrate is essential in that case. So, protein needs for athletes, and what is the recommended intake? Athletes will need protein primarily to repair and build muscle that is broken down during exercise, and to help optimize carbohydrate storage in the form of glycogen. And this is very important. That is why continuous supply of carbohydrate is important, so that the glycogen stores do not get exhausted. That glycogen is going to continue to supply the energy for the muscle performance to happen at a peak level. Protein is not an ideal source of fuel for the exercise, but can be used when the diet lacks adequate carbohydrate. However, now in the case of sports person or anybody, this is not something that is desirable. It is actually detrimental, because if protein will be used for fuel, then there is not going to be enough available to repair and rebuild the body tissues, including the muscle, because of which you are consuming the protein in the first place. Now, strength athletes believe more protein is important to build muscle. Actually, if you look at the evidence that is available and you read more literature, you will find that strength athletes actually require high carbohydrate intake and adequate glycogen stores, so that the workout can be continuously fueled and you are not getting tired. If you notice also, when people are competing and you look at the telecast and everywhere, in between they are actually eating a source of carbohydrate, not a source of protein, because you do not want that glycogen to get depleted continuously. It is the strength training workout that will lead to the increased muscle mass and strength. This is because all high intensity and powerful muscle contractions like weightlifting are fueled by carbohydrate, and I will just show you a picture that will show you which source of fuel the body uses in different types of sporting events. Neither fat nor protein can be oxidized rapidly enough to meet the demands of a high intensity exercise. So, adequate dietary carbohydrate must be consumed daily in order to restore those glycogen levels. Protein supplements can be used when athletes are traveling, or they do not have easy access to quality food before, during or after training, or after a competition. So, this particular picture you see carefully, it has 5 categories of sports. It is showing you weightlifting, it is showing you a 200-meter hurdles, a basketball champion, and a hard cycling, and also a 2-hour marathon. So, these are different categories of sporting events that they are taking part in, and as you can see very clearly, the first fuel that the body will use as a source of energy will be either carbohydrate, or if it is a long duration activity which is not very high intensity, then the body will equally use carbohydrate and fat, and then there comes a crossover point, but it never uses protein as a source of fuel. So, it is very important to understand the place of protein is for what and the place of carbohydrate is for what, and when we disturb that balance, and a lot of athletes are going into very low carbohydrate diets, when you do that, please understand the total energy the body still requires. So, if you are going to reduce the carbohydrate too much, you will be depending on a lot of energy coming from fat, which ultimately is not going to be good for your system. So, recommendation of proteins, just to revise what you just heard again, for a normal person we say 0.8 to 1 gram per kg body weight is the requirement of protein. So, it is very simple for anybody to calculate. If you know your ideal body weight and you know you are 55 kgs and you calculate at the rate of 1 gram, you know 55 grams of protein per day is what you require. Then we increase that requirement based on the person's activity levels. For a person who is strength training and also maintaining, you can go up to 1.2 grams per kg body weight per day. Strength training with the objective of gaining muscle mass, you can increase up to 1.5 to 1.7 grams per kg body weight. Moderate intensity endurance activities can be 1.2, and high intensity endurance training can go up to 1.6 grams per kg body weight. So, in any situation, we usually do not cross beyond 2 grams per kg body weight. Having said that, now it is important to understand that this requirement can be met from the diet. So, when we talk of the protein requirement for any athlete, we talk of two things. We talk of both quantity as well as quality. Quantity of protein is usually easy to meet even for a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian. When it comes to the quality of the protein, that is where sometimes people have a myth that I will have to depend on a certain specific supplement in order to get a good quality protein. All animal proteins are good quality proteins, they are complete proteins. Does that mean a vegetarian cannot get a complete protein? Definitely not. A vegetarian or a vegan athlete can also get a complete protein from the foods they are consuming, but we need to be a little more cautious in planning their diet, and we need to give them a combination of foods, what we call as complementary proteins. So, complementary proteins help to take up the disadvantage of one and bring into the advantage of the other. One of the nutrients or one of the amino acids athletes think about a lot is lysine. That is something that is missing in rice, but I do not know how many of you know lysine is something that is found very abundantly in green leafy vegetables. Of course, it is found in pulses as well, but green leafy vegetables are not very often considered as something important for athletes, but that is something you should take a look at because it is a powerhouse of micronutrients, and instead of spending a lot of money on the supplements that we are buying for micronutrients, these green leafy vegetables are powerhouses that will give us a lot of these micronutrients. When are protein supplements needed? When should we recommend? Very high calorie and protein needs due to training. At that time, sometimes we may have to resort to supplements. During traveling or when food availability is limited, in certain situations, access to all that whole food that we are talking may not be there in that case. Vegan athletes, to begin with, while they are still getting adjusted to that vegan routine, might have to start with some supplements, but then later we can bring them back to a normal diet and teach them combinations of foods. Kilocalorie restricting athletes and also sometimes female athletes, if they are eating a overall a low calorie diet, in that case we might have to give them certain supplements. Now, supplement consumption, there are a lot of studies that have been done to understand why athletes are consuming supplements, and is it something that is on a scientific basis or is it something that they are hearing from each other and then they are consuming. This is a paper that I found on supplement consumption in bodybuilder athletes. It is talking about a significant relationship between supplement use and the athlete's knowledge about the supplements, and what it says here is greater the knowledge about the supplements, lesser was the use of supplements. The more they understood what the supplement was giving vis-a-vis the natural food, like Swati was telling you just now, the less dependence was there on the supplements as compared to the natural foods. Of all the respondents in this study, 48% of them believed that they had an average knowledge about the supplements, but 3/4 felt that they did not have enough information and they needed more information regarding the supplements. Those that were not taking the supplements believed very firmly that there were certain health risks associated with that, so they were not taking the supplements. Also, when asked who do they depend on as a source of their information, whether to take supplements or not, although most of them had a nutritionist associated with them, they said most of the time they depend on the trainers and the coaches who guide them on what to consume and what not to consume, followed by nutritionists, and then they also turn to doctors in some cases. Another thing important to understand, there is a huge market for the sports nutrition supplements. This is a report that I have taken out. This is a market analysis report published in February 2020, very recently, and from there I have taken out only one part of that, which is talking about this US sports nutrition market size by product. And they have categorized this, as you can see here, into 3 categories: sports drinks, sports supplements and sports foods. And this is actual values till 2019 because it is a early 2020 report, and then they have given projections up to 2027. So, as you can see very clearly across the graph, this market is going to continue to grow if people, and sports people specifically, continue to consume these supplements at the rate that they are consuming at the current time. And specifically coming to the global protein supplement market, it is a huge market. So, remember, before you buy those protein supplements, please remember for whom you are spending the money. Those are big corporates, big conglomerates that are making those protein supplements, and this market, as it says as per this report, by 2025 is expected to reach $8,700 million. I do not even really know how much that money is, but that is the rate at which it is growing, and it shows a growth rate of 7.4%. This is for the US market. I have not put a slide here, but the Indian nutraceutical market as a whole is also growing at a rate of 7.3%. Within that also are the sports supplements that we are talking of. So while these are something that are important at certain times, it should be with caution that we should get into consuming the protein supplements. And before you consume, ask the following questions: what is the quantity of protein and amino acid actually in the product? Is the supplement really necessary? And before doing that, evaluate the usual intake first. Like I said, most of the times we do not have a problem with the quantity of protein that we are consuming in our normal diet. It is just that we have to ensure the quality of protein is also maintained, which can be done by the combination of foods. And we have the animal foods, and among the plant foods, soya protein and the soya protein isolate is considered to be a very high quality protein, which almost matches the quality of an animal protein. Look at the cost. Ask, will it really enhance performance, and does this supplement have any harmful effects? Also look at papers, look at studies, ask other users, because a lot of those effects will not happen immediately, they will happen in the long run. And if you read the fine print on the labels of those supplements, most of them will tell you to eat it only for a small amount of time. They never tell you to eat it regularly and consistently over a period of time, because they also know that consumed over a period of time, single proteins or single nutrients when you consume, they disturb the overall balance of the intake that you are consuming. Some of the dangers that you will probably have heard about, and some I will tell you, when you consume excess protein, what happens and what are the risks involved with consuming that extra protein. Average consumption, like I said, of proteins in middle and high income groups is much more than required. We don't really require a supplement for that. But excess calories, excess fat and excess cholesterol intake is an inherent problem when we consume a lot of protein, because you are reducing the carbohydrate in your diet. And remember, any nutrient that you consume, whether is it in the form of carbohydrate or protein or fat, ultimately the storage in the body is in the form of fat. So if you don't utilize what you are consuming, after meeting the body needs, the final storage in the body is in the form of fat. So you may be consuming extra protein thinking it is going to help me to build my muscle, but after it has met its job, which is only very limited, beyond that, all that extra protein also what you are consuming is going to convert to fat and then store in the body. And when you consume a lot of animal protein, along with that you are consuming a lot of fat, which is mostly saturated fat, and also the risk of cholesterol and related coronary heart disease risk also increases. One more danger, and there are some papers that have spoken about it, is increased calcium loss and an increased risk of osteoporosis. When we consume proteins, it gets broken down into amino acid, and when we have to neutralize an acid, we require something that is alkaline, and that alkaline base is calcium. And if there is not enough calcium in the blood, the body will start drawing calcium from the bones. And a lot of papers have spoken about loss of bone mineral density in athletes who are on a long-term consumption of supplements, specifically excess protein consumption. So the more protein they consume, the more acid is generated and the more calcium is leached out of the bones, making them porous, and risk of reduced bone mineral density and osteoporosis becomes really, really high. There is a diet that most of you would have heard of, what we call as the Atkins diet, which is a very, very high protein diet and very low carbohydrate diet. In that diet, initially there is weight loss also, but at the same time, studies related to Atkins diet have shown that calcium excretion increases almost up to 55% in those diets, because that amount of neutralization that is required for the acid comes from the calcium that is leaching from the person's bones and the system. Another risk that is associated with excess protein is kidney damage or an increased risk of kidney stone formation. This is especially true when people are consuming more of animal diets as compared to the plant protein. So high protein diet increase the amount of acid in the blood and urine, that is from ketones and uric acid. The more acidic the urine, more is the risk of kidney stone formation. But having said that, there are studies that have also said that this danger is more in people who already have some family history of a kidney disorder. But when anything is done in excess, we know it is not going to be good for the system. Increased risk of dehydration. Now, you kept hearing about how hydration is very good for the body. When you consume a lot of protein, the end product of protein metabolism is urea. In order to remove urea from the body, it has to pass via the urine. It requires a lot of water to pass that urea out of the body. So to do that, there is a lot of loss of body water that takes place in order to get rid of that urea from the system. Resultantly, the risk of dehydration with that excess protein consumption is very, very high, and that is dangerous, especially for an athlete, because that is not something you want. You need to be well hydrated in order to be able to do your peak performance. That is why you were consuming that supplement in the first place. So very quickly, I will just show you two studies that have talked about how when you consume a very high protein diet and a very high carbohydrate diet, what is the difference. So this was a whey supplemented high protein diet versus a high carbohydrate diet, and what were the effects on endurance cycling performance. I will just explain what is written here in this paper. So this was a study done over a period of 7 days. There were two separate groups. One group which was taking a high carbohydrate diet, but at the same time, if you notice in that high carbohydrate diet, the protein is optimum. It is 1.3 grams per kg body weight, which we said for endurance athletes, it can range from 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kg body weight. The other group was taking a very high protein diet, going up to 3.3 grams per kg body weight, but they reduced the carbohydrate to about less than 2 grams per kg body weight, which is not going to meet the requirement for energy. And for 7 days, these two groups consumed these diets. After the period of 7 days, on 8th day, all the subjects were asked to do a self-paced cycling. And this cycling was, they were not stopped, they could do for as much as they could endure, they could cycle for that amount of time. And during both all that time, there was no difference in the overall energy and the overall fat intake, that was constant. So the only change was in the protein and the carbohydrate intake. So when the performance was assessed on 8th day, it was significantly impaired in the group that was taking a high protein diet. They cycled for an average of 127 plus minus 36 minutes as compared to the group which was taking the high carbohydrate but optimum protein diet. That group cycled for 153 minutes plus minus 34 minutes. So what we understand by that is, when you are consuming a very high protein diet, you are lacking the fuel that is coming from carbohydrate, whereas the other group was consuming the high carbohydrate, optimum protein, they kept getting the fuel in order to endure that amount of time and continued cycling for a longer time. So this showed that there was an ergolytic effect of a 7-day high protein diet on self-paced endurance cycling performance. Ergolytic is something that depletes your performance. So that overall very high protein diet was not really beneficial. There is another study that has again talked about the efficacy and the consequences of very high protein diets for athletes and exercisers. Here they specifically wanted to see whether it is causing any kidney damage also for the patients. So when they looked at that, they said yes, they were consuming very high protein diets, but unless and until they had a background of any other kidney problem, it was not really a problem. So they could consume a very high protein diet for a prolonged amount of time unless and until there was a background of a family history or a problem with a kidney damage. So any existing kidney dysfunction, if they did not have, then it was not a problem, but for some others, they were not able to tolerate that very high protein diet because probably some amount of kidney dysfunction was inherently present in that person. What are the pros for protein supplements? Because they are derived from quality food proteins, supplements contain all the essential amino acids that you require. They offer convenience on the go as meal replacements and snacks because they are easy to prepare. Supplements are also an easy way to track your daily intake. You know exactly how much you are consuming. What are the downsides? They may be more expensive than a similar amount of whole food protein, we know that. They carry an inherent risk of complication related to toxicity. As isolated protein products, they lack other nutrients that naturally accompanying foods will have. For example, you just saw a comparison between paneer and a branched chain amino acid supplement. So just like that, when you are consuming in the form of protein in the meat, you get iron along with that. When you eat fish, you also get the healthy fat. When you eat the yogurt, you also get the calcium along with that. So when you eat it as an isolated supplement, all these nutrients will go missing. Further, like you heard, these are not regulated by the US FDA. So look at what is the recommendation given by the various bodies. I will end by showing you certain do's and don'ts which are given by the FSSAI guidance on the food for special dietary use for sports person along with the Sports Authority of India. This is issued in 2019. It says to follow a dietary pattern that will support and enhance performance. Choose foods and beverages that you enjoy and that do not bother your stomach and are not irritating. If you have to do any experimenting, do it before certain weeks of an event to see that which foods are working best for you. Always remember that there are no quick fixes for improving sports performances. Before taking the FSDU, assess the need and the risk associated with it. Be careful and vigilant in using these FSDUs. It is difficult to get a guarantee that any particular FSDU is free from prohibited substances. It should be taken under advice from a well-informed professional who is acquainted with a list of the prohibited substances. Another thing important, sometimes you know what is a prohibited substance by one name. They will give an alternate name for the same ingredient on the product so that you are not aware that this is a banned ingredient. So that is why always consult a specialist. Always, if you are using, always keep them under safe custody so that it is not available for anybody at random to use it. What are the don'ts? Do not take FSDU just because a teammate or a competitor is taking it and recommending it to you. Do not exceed the recommended dose. Remember, more is not always better. Excessive use of one vitamin or mineral can have a negative impact on the availability or absorption of another. Do not take any FSDU manufactured by a company which in the past has been associated with any use of any prohibited substance, and do not purchase FSDUs over the internet, as the risk of fake supplement products is greatest when buying online and they are giving claims which are too good to be true. Remember what we say, when it sounds too good to be true, it is probably too good to be true. So it is never too late to be careful. I am showing you two documents that you can refer to. The first one is a nutrition and hydration guidelines for excellence in sports performance. This is issued by the International Life Sciences Institute of India in association with the National Institute of Nutrition and the Sports Authority of India. The link is there, you can download that. Second one is the guidance note on food for special dietary use for sports person. This is an FSSAI document issued along with the Sports Authority of India. Again, the link is here for you to download if you want. Thank you so much for the opportunity. The MAHE Sports Council, the Department of Physical Education MAHE, and Principal WGSHA. This is a list of references that we have used in order to compile this presentation for you. Thank you so much for your patient listening, and we would be very happy to take any questions that you may have for us. Thank you, everyone.
There is a question by Tenjin, Bridges of Sports Foundation. What is the best diet composition for team athletes in the growth spurt and peak height velocity period?
That's a very good question and very relevant, because we have a lot of teenage sports person that are wanting to perform and do well. Very rightly asked, the growth spurt has its own requirement, and then you have the requirement in order to do your performance for the sport that you have chosen. I'll first talk about the growth spurt part and then add it on to the nutrient requirements for sports people. We have already done that, so we'll combine the two and then give a diet plan. So looking at the teenage sports, there is the case will have to be seen separately for a male or a female teenager. One particular nutrient that is of concern is iron. When we look at the iron requirement for adults, we usually know that the iron requirement for females is higher as compared to the males. During teenage, that's the only time period in their life where the iron requirement is more for the boys as compared to the teenage girls, because their requirement is for building more of muscle mass. That is the time the body composition changes are happening. So while both of them require adequate protein, that shift in body composition that is happening, because of that the requirement for iron is very high for the boys as compared to the girls, and later on, once the teenage period is over, then that requirement becomes stable, and after a while it becomes more for the females. So the females, another thing that we talk about is the female athlete triad, and their risk of anemia for the females increases. That is when we give them more of the hematopoietic nutrients. So for teenagers, when we are planning the diet for sports persons who are in the teenage category, we will keep in mind the requirements that is for the growth spurt, and at the same time we will balance it with the requirement of the sports for which they are going to play. Now again, like I said, we cannot overdo on the protein also that we are going to recommend. During the growth spurt, the protein requirement is slightly higher. It stabilizes to an adult requirement of 1 gram per kg body weight, but depending on the sport, like I said, maximum we will go up to 2 grams per kg body weight. Because they are teenagers, we can increase it up to 1.7 to 2 grams per kg body weight is what we will recommend, because along with that protein we will have to maintain the overall energy also has to be maintained. So, deciding on which game category they belong to, category 1, 2, 3 or 5, that will be the base for us to decide the overall calories. Added to that will be the protein requirement to the specific sport, and the micronutrients of concern for us for them will be iron, calcium as well as vitamin C is what we are going to look at.
We are at the end of the webinar session. Thank you all for the participation. It was a great pleasure for the Sports Council to host a webinar on title Every Athlete Matters During and After COVID. And I'm sure we could get some insights about the challenges faced by a sports person during this pandemic. I would like to thank Pro-Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, Pro-Vice-Chancellors and the Registrar of Manipal Academy of Higher Education for the motivation and guidance. A huge thanks to the speakers for their valuable discussions. A wholehearted thank you to all the participants from across the globe. Our gratitude goes to Assistant Director IT and the Audiovisual Department. A special thanks to Mr. Jagdish and Mr. Navneet Ganesh for the technical coordination. Finally, a shout out to the members, to all my friends from the Sports Council, the Secretary, the members of the Physical Education Department, the staffs, the students, the faculties, the HOIs and the university officials for their support. Thank you all. Have a good day.